Welcome to the Dental Marketing Heroes Podcast, your ultimate resource for mastering the art and science of dental marketing. In each episode, we explore the latest strategies, insights, and success stories to help elevate your dental practice to new heights. And now, here is your host, the founder and president of Dental Marketing Heroes, Ian Cantle.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Dental Marketing Heroes podcast. I'm Ian Cantle, and today we're going to talk about something that might be the real reason your dental marketing isn't producing the results you expect and ultimately driving you to your goals. Now, when a dentist tells me their marketing isn't working, the first thing they usually point to is their SEO company, their Google ads, their website, their social media, or maybe even AI. But after working with many dental practices, I've learned something really interesting. Most dental practices don't actually have a marketing problem. They have a marketing maturity problem. And what do I mean by that? Well, imagine trying to place dental implants before taking proper diagnostics and treatment planning, or trying to deliver Invisalign without understanding the patient's bite and underlying issues. Marketing works the same way. We need to do diagnostics first, diagnose the problems so that we can create a treatment plan. Many practices are trying to run advanced marketing tactics before they've built the foundation necessary to support those tactics. They're buying Google ads before they know their patient acquisition cost. They're investing in search engine optimization before they've clearly defined who they're trying to attract. They're implementing AI before they've built a consistent process for handling leads. And then they're frustrated because the results don't match the investment. Well, in today's episode, we are going to walk through the stages of marketing maturity for dental practices, how to determine where your practice actually is today, the mistakes most dentists make, and the highest leverage action you can take to move your practice forward. Because the goal isn't to do more marketing. It's not about activity. The goal is to do the right marketing for the stage your practice is currently in. So let's dive in. Well, every marketing dollar should produce patients. Most practices don't have unlimited budgets, so the money you invest in marketing should produce a return on investment. The wrong marketing investment can cost tens of thousands of dollars annually for your practice. And marketing maturity helps determine what should happen next. It prevents buying solutions before solving foundational problems. It creates predictable patient growth. So here's an example. A practice spending $5,000 a month on Google ads, $3,000 a month on search engine optimization, but taking 2 days to call new patients leads back. They don't have a traffic problem. They don't have a lead problem. It has a process problem. The key thing here is more traffic won't fix a broken patient acquisition process. Now, let me share a little bit about how I see dental practices are going through a maturity model. And it's quite frankly disturbing, and you may feel disturbed when you hear this, but this is a very common approach. And this is not the marketing maturity model I'm recommending. This is the marketing maturity model that I observe when I am consulted with by dental practices. So the first step in the marketing maturity model that is just naturally occurring is no marketing. There's practices out there that rely entirely on luck, goodwill, and the occasional goodwill referrals. There is no proactive approach to this. They are simply sitting back, hoping for good things to happen. That's very common. The second phase is that they get frustrated by this because nothing's happening. So then you, the dentist, try to do it yourself. And what often happens at this stage is you're chasing shiny objects, meaning the loudest, the most, viral type of thing that you come across. There's so much noise online about what works and what doesn't, and it's very misleading. The other thing that can happen at this stage is what I call random acts of marketing. It may be you doing these random acts of marketing whenever you feel a sudden urge, you have some time to spend on marketing, but there's no strategic approach to it. Or it can also happen when a marketer approaches you and the idea sounds like it's going to be the silver bullet. And so you say, yes, let's do it. Yes, I want to do a billboard ad. Yes, I want to sponsor a sports team. Yes, I want to do a radio ad. Yes, I want to do calendars. It could be anything. And I see all of these. The next step I often see that these people will become frustrated with this because not only is the marketing not working, but they're trying to do the marketing themselves. I often see that too, where a dentist may have taken a marketing course in university and think, well, it didn't sound too complex when I was studying it in theory, so let me try it in reality. And unfortunately, marketing doesn't work that way. Just like doing a dental implant doesn't work that way, you actually need to practice in order to become good at it, right? So to become good at marketing, you need to be effectively doing it every single day, just like you do your treatments every single day. So the next step is hiring vendors. This is a very natural approach. So we started with no marketing, then we did it ourselves. Now we're hiring vendors. And usually this turns into what I would call the multi-vendor chaos approach, because you can have a whole bunch of plates spinning. There's these old videos that you can find on YouTube where I think it was the Ed Sullivan Show or something like that, where there used to be these plate spinners. They would have all these poles, these thin poles, and they would start spinning a plate on the first pole. Then they'd move to the second pole and they'd spin a plate. And some of them had, 15 plates spinning at once, and then they'd have to run back and spin the next one and so on. And then they'd start to wobble and the plates would fall. That's what I see as the multi-vendor approach. Because the challenge with the multi-vendor approach is you have a whole bunch of people doing activity, a whole bunch of vendors, because they're specialists in a particular area of marketing, but nobody is doing the overarching plan. And unfortunately for you as the dentist, you have to manage all these vendors. Then you have the reporting challenges because everybody's reporting in their own way that's significant to show what they're doing and what their results are. But again, it doesn't mean the objective of your marketing is all moving in the same direction. It's almost like you have all of these different horses pulling in different directions and you're the carriage in the middle, right? Imagine that. It's not getting you to where you want to go. Step 4. So before I go to that, let me just reiterate. The first step was no marketing. Second step is do it yourself. The third is manage it yourself, but hire multiple vendors. The fourth stage is you have a non-marketing staff member try to do some of your marketing to save money because you've tried the multi-vendor approach. You've seen, it doesn't look that hard. Maybe I'll have my receptionist do some social posting, that kind of thing. This crash and burn so fast. I see this happening all the time in so many practices and other small businesses because, first of all, they're not experts at what they're doing. The time allotment will get eaten up to whatever they naturally feel comfortable doing, which doesn't mean it's strategic. And then also, the other work that you actually hired them to do suffers, right? So now you've stretched them in multiple directions, and that's not good either. So before moving on to step 5, we have step 1, no marketing, sometimes just referrals. Step 2, do it yourself, shiny object syndrome. Step 3 is multi-vendor, you managing them, not getting to where you want. Step 4, you have a non-marketing staff member try to do some of your marketing to save money, crashes and burns. Step 5, again, this is my observation. Step 5 is often practices will hire what I would call a non-integrated marketing agency. So this might mean that they have a package or a program. It might be the people that built your website. They say they can do SEO and paid ads and social media as well. But again, they come at it without creating an overarching marketing strategy. They don't focus on who your ideal patients are. They don't create a core message that sets you apart in the marketplace. And they don't report in a holistic manner of where you are today, what activities they're doing to drive you to the objectives, the results, the revenue, the new patient numbers that you want in order to grow your practice. Most practices that have tried this, they get frustrated by it. They then look for and search for an integrated marketing agency. And what this means is this is what we do at Dental Marketing Heroes. We are an integrated marketing agency that creates the overarching strategy, and then we create the tactics and strategies below that that help drive you to your goals. And we create KPIs, key performance indicators, or metrics that then tell you as the owner, where are we today? How is it tracking against our return on investment in new patient numbers and revenue numbers, and ultimately growing our brand in the marketplace? That's step 6. So we've gone from no marketing, relying on referrals alone, not proactive. Step 2, you do it yourself, shiny object syndrome, not working out, stretched too far. Then you try a multi-vendor approach. Then you have a non-marketing staff person try to do it, crashes and burns. You hire a non-integrated marketing agency. Then you hire an integrated marketing agency. And that alone, that's step 6 of hiring an integrated marketing agency. If they're good like we are, they will get you really, really far. In fact, this is where we might start to see some cracks in your processes, because you may not be doing the things that you need to do internally to grow your practice with your marketing. So we work in lockstep with you to ensure that we're not getting too far ahead of you, that we're working as a partner and extension to your practice in order to help you get there. There's 3 more phases, and the 3 more phases are: you might be ready, you might have multiple practices, you might be growing to a degree with so many treatment rooms, with so much capacity, that you might want to think about, how are we going to bring this in-house eventually? And oftentimes people will hire a junior marketer at this stage, which is, again, crash and burn. Because ultimately what this means is if you hire a junior marketer into your business, it means that you are going to have to manage them. You're going to have to tell them what they need to do. That's just how life works. That's how hiring works. And so that's a really poor approach that, again, we see it not working very often. So my recommendation is at this stage, you hire a fractional chief marketing officer. They manage your integrated marketing agency that you already have. And they can hire and manage your first full-time marketing employee in-house. This is a fantastic way to go, because you're not paying for a full-time chief marketing officer. You're paying a fraction of what they would normally cost. They are the ones managing your agency. They're the ones that make sure that you're squeezing all of the juice out of that agency to get the best results possible, that you're getting the best return on investment. And then they're the ones that are managing that internal employee. And ultimately, they can grow your team to a certain level until you're ready to replace or hire the fractional CMO full time in order to manage that team. And then oftentimes it will go to just managing an internal team. And then ultimately, your internal team, you're not going to, replace every role that an agency does. So hopefully that makes sense. You may see yourself in some of those marketing maturity steps in that model. And again, that is not the ideal. That is what I see happening more times than I can speak to. So, what are the signs that a business is at the lowest stage of maturity, even if the owner thinks they're further along? So, the very best way to know this is if you are referral dependent. Now, don't get me wrong, referrals are fantastic. And we as practice owners should be doing every single thing to proactively ask for, reward, encourage referrals. That should never stop, no matter how big you get. Referrals are vital. But if you are referral dependent, you will quickly understand that you can neither increase the number of referrals very quickly or decrease them. There's no control over referrals for most businesses that are not proactive. And so most characteristics of this referral dependency is that most patients come from referrals. You're doing little marketing activity, if any, and you have no clear growth strategy. So the very best thing you can do at this stage is define your ideal patient profile. So this is the stage where you should be focusing on strategy. And I would recommend hiring someone like a marketing consultant, like a fractional CMO, somebody who can guide you through this process. Again, you could spend your weekends doing this, your nights doing this, but because you're not an expert in this field, you will find this very, very challenging, and you will have some significant blind spots when you're defining who your ideal patient profile is. Then you should be creating a simple marketing plan. So, some examples of ideal patient profiles are people like, if you want to grow Invisalign, your Invisalign treatments, Invisalign adults, Invisalign teens, implant patients, families with children, cosmetic dentistry patients, and so on. But if you just say everybody with teeth, you will never be able to outcompete your competition and attract those people, because your message is just too broad and too loosey. So if you're trying to attract everyone, you are attracting no one. All right, so then let's move on to random marketing. So how do you know if you're in this random marketing phase? Well, we often see things like trying social media, or trying search engine optimization or AI search, trying Google Ads. The real identifier here is that there is no consistency. It's random acts of marketing, and random acts of marketing produces random results, right? You're not going to get clear, identifiable results that you can either gear up or gear down. How will you know what's working when you don't even have a plan? I often look at this whole process as, when I think about strategic marketing and having a strategic marketing plan, as an engine, right? So say your family's going on a vacation, you want to go somewhere, let's just say Hawaii. You want to go to Hawaii. So in order to do that, you have to book your final destination, book where you're staying. You need to think about the details of how you're going to get there. And oftentimes that will be a flight, right? And so you plan your flight, you look for the flight that's going to give you the best deal, the times you want to go, no stops, all of that kind of stuff, best seating. And so you book that flight. Then you need to get in your, plan. Well, how's our family? How and when is our family going to get to the airport? How much time do we need there? So you're planning all of these things out. And then let's just look at the vehicles. The vehicles is actually where I think marketing is where the rubber meets the road. So when you think about a car or an airplane, these are complex vehicles. There's a whole world of systems, processes, things happening within those vehicles, most of it in order to get you from point A to point B is the engines. Now, the engine is not a simple device in either of those vehicles. They are highly complex. If anything is out of alignment, if you have the wrong fuel, if your pistons or your turbines are not running properly, if there's a wobble, your whole thing could go up in smoke, right? So you want these things to be perfectly working. If it's an electric vehicle, it's got the motors in the wheels, right? It's got the batteries, it's got the control systems. All of these things are what get you from point A, where you are today, to where you want to get to. And so in a perfect marketing system, a perfect marketing engine, you get all of your marketing strategies and tactics working in unison to drive you to your results. And you can't do this unless you, first of all, know what results you want to achieve, who you're going to attract. So what kind of fuel you need, what kind of engine you need in order to get you there efficiently. And all of these things need to be highly tuned by experts in order to get you there. So consistency beats complexity. So you need to, at this stage, create one clear message. You need to commit to one primary growth strategy, and you need to be consistent. If you look for, big thoughts on marketing online, if you ask any of the AI engines, search engines, what sets good marketing apart from bad marketing, almost all of them will mention consistency. Consistency is so important. But without smart strategy, you could be consistent going in the wrong direction. And that's where that traveling analogy is very key, because if you're pointed in the wrong direction, if you haven't planned out where you want to go and you simply get in your car and drive, right? It's a silly thought. But if you do that, you're not going to get to where your destination is. Now let's look at active marketing. So some characteristics for active marketing are: you have a website, you're doing SEO, search engine optimization, and AI search optimization. You're maybe running some ads. You're doing social media. Social media seems to be the lowest hanging fruit, not for results, but for what people feel comfortable with in their practices to do, just because everybody almost uses social media to some degree. And so there's a comfort level. But doing social media for your practice is entirely different than doing social media for you and your family. So that's a really important differentiation. But what often happens at this stage is this multi-vendor approach, where these get disconnected, all of those different things you're doing, those activities. So you really do need to bring them under an integrated approach. You need to connect everything in a CRM system, a customer relationship management system. And I would highly suggest this is outside of your practice management system, that they integrate and they talk to each other. But do not rely on your practice management system for marketing. They do not stack up against any of the best CRM systems. You need to track every lead, every source, every attribution. You need to be able to segment your patients by treatments they've had, by ages, by all sorts of things, maybe even by their goals. And you need to create follow-up accountability. Now, the money is often hiding in the leads you're already generating. So that's a big key to take away. Now, the next stage is really measuring your marketing. So are you currently tracking what you're currently doing? And if so, is it clear? Clarity in marketing metrics is one of the biggest things I see as well, is dentists just don't know what it actually means, or is it the right metric to determine if we're seeing success. So that's where key performance indicators is so important. That's where aligning it all to your ultimate goals of higher new patient numbers, cost per new patient, production per new patient, ultimate revenue growth, and ultimately growing your practice. And I would say retention of patients should be in there as well. You should never be just focusing on new patients. You should be focusing on retention and lifetime value of your patients. You can't improve what you don't measure. That's the key takeaway there. Then let's look at optimization of your growth. So characteristics of this is consistent acquisition. You're starting to see that we are able to acquire new patients in a consistent manner. Our top of the funnel is working well. We have strong reporting. I'm able to understand, as the executive in this dental practice, what exactly my money is going to and what the results are and how they're driving me to my goals. And then predictable patient flow and retention. So the best move at this stage is that you're testing things systematically. Not only are things dialed in really well, but your agency, your marketers are testing things. They're saying, hey, we have this hypothesis that we can get you more dental patients, but we're going to have to try this new system. Your marketing investment should not be shrinking as you grow. It will ultimately grow with your practice. So you should be looking at improving conversion rates. So what is the conversion rate from all of the different funnel levels of, or if you want to look at another framework, is the marketing hourglass, where you have the top of the funnel, which is know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat. So people have to know you, to like you, to trust you, to try you, to buy from you, to repeat and refer. And that's the bottom of that hourglass. You want to increase your patient lifetime value. You want to retain your patients for longer, and you want to expand your services and locations really, really strategically. So at this stage, growth comes from optimization and not necessarily just from more and more activity. So let's sum this all up by looking at the stages of the marketing maturity model for dentists. So quite often, stage 1 is referral survival, mostly by word of mouth, no marketing system. Stage 2 is random acts of marketing, occasional Facebook posts, sporadic promotions, vendor-driven decisions. Stage 3 is marketing presence. So you have a website, you have search engine optimization, you have Google Business Profile is humming, you have social media, but little coordination between these. Stage 4 is integrating your marketing. So marketing channels start to work together. Your CRM and your practice management system create a follow-up process that works really well. Your team understands the patient journey. Stage 5 is measuring your practice growth. So cost per patient tracked, your return on investment tracked, your monthly reviews occur. Stage 6 is optimizing your practice growth. So testing and optimization, predictable patient acquisition, strong retention systems, high lifetime patient value. And ultimately, this stage 6, this optimization of practice growth, this is where the valuation of your practice becomes very predictable. The valuation of your practice becomes far higher than if you can't create predictable growth in your practice. And so buyers of practices, so if you're growing your practice to ultimately sell it someday, or even sell it or gift it to one of your children, you want to make sure that they can step in, that it's turnkey, that it's doing the things that will help them be the most successful. And so to do that, you need to be at that optimized practice growth stage. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, Ian Cantle at Dental Marketing Heroes. I'm here to help you, and I am super passionate about helping good dentists grow great practices by leveraging marketing systems that help you grow predictably. So, the most successful dental practices aren't the ones doing the most marketing. They are the ones that have built the most mature patient acquisition system. I look forward to talking to you soon and in the next episode. Bye for now. Keep calm and market on.
Thank you for listening to the Dental Marketing Heroes podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or any other major podcast service, and share this episode with dentists and other colleagues who would benefit from it. If you have a burning marketing question, like how do I currently show up in search engines or AI? How do I compare with my competition? Or what can I do right now to start attracting better quality patients? Reach out to us at dentalmarketingheroes.com. We're here to help. And until next week, keep calm and market on.